and I'm excited to show you how the roster portion of the Google spreadsheet that a lot of us remote session teams use for keeping track of our sessions. This spreadsheet was originally made by Connor, KD9LSV. I've made a few changes to help my workflow, but this is the sheet that many of us, that my team uses, and many other teams, use it like this as well. So to start off, we have a bunch of fake applicant information that I've created here to show what you'd see at the beginning of a session when you get the spreadsheet. Um, Basically, the session team will show you a link to this, and you'll be able to open it up and go here. Um, well, actually, when you open it, you'll most likely see this one first. And then you can click on the roster. Here at the bottom, you can see the different sections or sheets, whatever you want to call it, down here. So here you can see that we have the names of the applicants, the pins that are from exam tools, and this is the test that they're taking. So technician, general, or extra. And then over here, these cells are blank, so you can add information to them, and we'll get to that later. If they have a call sign, it'll show up here, and this column is the time that they're supposed to arrive, and I have that imported, or I import this from another section of the spreadsheet. This is when they're supposed to arrive. It doesn't mean that they will arrive at that time. And then this is an example of what their Zoom name could look like. So if they join the Zoom and they don't have a proper name on them, somebody could copy and paste from here and put it in their Zoom name. So let's say that Edith joins the Zoom first. Usually the person, the Zoom host, or somebody else in main will put a 1 next to their name. The main room is where the session manager and the Zoom host typically live and control all the chaos from. So Edith joins first, we'll put a 1 next to her name. Somebody in main will. And if Stephanie joins second, we'll put a 2. If Jonathan joins third, they'll put a 3 there. And you can see everybody here in purple. Their row shows up in purple, showing us that they are arrived in the Zoom meeting. They might also put time here, the time that they showed up, which kind of tells us what order they showed up in, as well as how long they've been waiting, if they've been waiting for a testogram. So we don't know if if someone asks you to do that, you can do Command Shift semicolon or Control Shift semicolon, and that'll put in your system time. That'll input your system time into that cell, and that's a Google Sheets feature. Cool. And then, so these columns are blank for you to put the time in. So are these ones, so you can put under the notes section. This is for if they're testing on a second device, or if they're testing, let's say they're testing on phone. The session manager or somebody could put that in there to notify the VEs in the room of that. Or if they're testing at a McDonald's or in the middle of the wilderness, you could put that in there. Or if they need to go to a particular room, I'll put which room that they're supposed to go to in here, and then I'll tell everybody, hey, if I put room 3 in here and they go to a different room, let me know, or just otherwise make sure that they go to room 3, and I'll usually put that in bold for fun. Cool. So let's say you're the VE in room 1 and the room lead, which is the person in charge of that room, who's typically more experienced and in charge of making sure everything goes smoothly, assigns you to update the spreadsheet. There's a couple of different assignments. like authorizations on exam tools, or checking Discord for messages, or updating the spreadsheet. So let's say that Edith comes in and the main room sends her to your room, room 1. And by the way, you'll see that you're in room 1 because your name will show up on this tab under room 1. So your name will show up in one of these 5 sections here. Cool. So you're in room 1. Edith is in room 1. Their name will turn up in yellow across this column. And if you see that, if you see that Edith has joined your room, if Edith has joined room 1, but it's not marked on the spreadsheet, if you're in charge of updating the spreadsheet, you could put in a 1 here, if somebody else forgets. And then aside from checking the notes to make sure there's nothing you need to be aware of, or your room needs to be aware of, you pretty much don't need to do much with the spreadsheet until after they take their test. So, as you can see on this column, they are taking their technician. So after they're done, if they pass, you'll go here and say pass tech. Let's ignore this. And say pass tech. If they fail, you would put in fail tech. Or if let's say they pass their tech, and then they say, hey, I studied for general, can I take that? And the room says yes, and they pass their general as well. Well, actually, first of all, if it turns out that they want to take both, you could go here and override this and just put TG, indicating that they're taking tech and general. And if they pass both, you could say pass tech and general, or pass tech, fail general, or whatever the situation is. And then, after you send them to the exit room, or send them back to main, or they otherwise leave your room after they're done testing, you could click this checkbox here under done, indicating that they are done in your room. They'll turn up in green. It doesn't mean that they passed the green, but it just means on the spreadsheet that they are done testing in that room at least. Cool. There's a couple other colors as well for pre-check and ready, teal, or cyan, or whatever. I don't know, you can argue about what color that is for pre-check and ready. Here, however, we don't really use those rooms as much since we don't have as many large sessions. So let's say you're done with Edith, and then you get Jonathan. You or the main room will put a 1 in there, and then if they also pass their technician, pass tech, or fail tech, whatever, and then we'll be optimistic, so we'll put a pass in there, and then they're done as well. Boom. And even if you're not in charge of the spreadsheet, you can still take a look at it, and it'll help you kind of understand what's going on at the session, more so than just looking at exam tools, because you'll also see who is in a room, who's in what room, and where they are at the session, and any other information about them that the VEs need to know about. Cool. So, also for example, so let's say that everybody up here is done, and another thing we'll do is if somebody cancels, say Suzanne calls me or emails me saying that they had a doctor's appointment, emergency doctor's appointment, or they just weren't ready for their test, I'll go here and strike through their name, showing everybody that they are not going to test at this session. Cool. So a lot of the spreadsheet is basically pulled from other portions of this sheet that are hidden. So for example, the first name is pulled from the app list, and Um, the pin is basically an array of all the pins on another sheet. Um, so sometimes, let's say another applicant registers, somebody will try to put their name in here, and if you put the name in here, it'll work, because it'll override the formula, just like we did here. So on this column, it's completely fine to override the formula that's in there, because this formula is from another sheet that's basically just guessing what they want to take, and I can override that sheet as well. Um, but anyway, what they'll do is uh, they'll try to add a new first name, and then they'll try to add a new pin, and then they'll flip out because it seems like they just broke everything on the spreadsheet. Um, really, what happened here? Well, I guess you did kind of break everything. I did kind of break everything here, because this formula is basically an array. It's an array of all the pins um, that are in the app list. If you don't know what that means, that's fine. I don't fully know what it means either. But array is just a table, I guess. Anyway, um, so if this happens, just click undo, Command or Control Z, and it usually brings everything back to normal. Or you can just manually delete the stuff that you added here, and I'll copy the formula from another cell. But instead of doing that to add new applicants, instead of just entering them in manually here, you'll want to go or ask the session manager to go, um, excuse me, they'll have to go to the original sheet where the applicant information, where they imported the applicant information. My goodness. Hopefully I made that less confusing rather than more confusing. So anyway, these cells here are all based on another sheet. Um, and so are all these cells here. So you don't want to really mess with them unless, well, actually, I'll take that back. You can add to these cells, like if they take general and extra, you can put that in there. You can also change the arrival time if you want. But otherwise, if you need to add other information, you want to do it in the other sections. However, these sections are the first column, and all of these columns are blank, like completely blank, so that you can enter data manually in there without. And you can manually enter data in there without breaking stuff. Um, Boom. By the way, if you're curious how the colors work, there's another tab that's hidden over here that has a bunch of numbers, and it has a formula that says if there's a number or if there's a character in column A, turn this to 1, and then there's conditional formatting that says if it's a 1, if there's a 1 in here, turn it purple, and then there's other formatting that says if this box is checked, make this 5, and then there's conditional formatting that says if it's 5, make it green. You don't need to know that, but if you don't want to worry about it, don't worry about it. It's not consequential, but if you're curious, that's how it works. Cool. So hopefully you have a not worse understanding of how this portion of the spreadsheet the spreadsheet that we use for remote sessions works. So if you get assigned, if the room leader, somebody else assigns you to update the spreadsheet when you're in one of the testing rooms, you can do that. Cool. Let me know if you have any questions, or let somebody know who. There's also a lot of people who know more stuff than me. But anyway, let somebody know. What am I saying? Let somebody know if you have any questions, and don't forget to have fun.